Aquarius, happy May. I don't know. Hi, Aquarius. I hope you guys are doing well. Let's go ahead and get into a reading for the mid portion of May 2019. Show me energies present for Aquarius, please. Aquarius. Show me for Aquarius. First card out of the deck, you have the Three of Swords, Aquarius. Three of Swords talks about overcoming pain. It talks about emotional stagnancy, frustration, heartache, disruption in our emotions, trying to heal, but feeling like we keep falling into the same cycles and circles and pain. Nine of Wands, defensiveness, frustration, not trusting somebody, not knowing what is being brought to you. The information, is it true? Not knowing which direction to move toward. And so kind of remaining in a level of stagnancy. Eight of Swords, mental frustration, mental blockages, creating storylines within our thinking in regard to how something may go, even if we don't know how it's going to go. Two of Pentacles, balance, juggling. Sometimes it's juggling two people. Sometimes it's juggling two jobs. Decisions, which direction to go in, what's going to stabilize your life best, being up in your mind about it. Seven of Wands. So energy where we are in conflict with others, anxiety-ridden energy, tiresome energy, where we are just at odds with people. It denotes levels of fighting, aggravation, unrest and dis-ease. And then the Four of Wands. So connections to the home, family, family members. This can talk about your foundation entirely. My words will come. It can be talking about having disruption in the home, fighting with the people that you live with, roommates, family members, husbands, wives. And then at the bottom of the deck, we have the Devil. So it's interesting energy, Aquarius. It feels like there's a lot of toxicity happening here, a lot of confusion, a lot of just really being in your mind about things in regard to somebody or a situation, feeling like you're tied and connected to it and not wanting to be anymore. Yeah, it feels like we need to heal the heart. We need to heal a situation, whether it be with a person or with our own understanding of a situation, to move, to do something completely different. The Devil talks about toxic connections. It talks about people that we play out toxicity with in our lives. We play out energy battles and constricting energy with people like that. It's not healthy. It perpetuates these cycles to continue over and over and over again. There's a point where we have to let that type of stuff go because we know it's unhealthy for us. It's not something that's going to bear fruit. It's not something that's feeling good. If anything, it just creates and perpetuates cycles. You have a lot of disharmony here. You have a lot of frustration here, and heartbreak, anxiety, and it could be dealing with the home. It could be dealing with just people that you have in your life that you've regarded as important for a long time. And, it may be time to shift that. For the Three of Swords, you have the King of Cups here. The King of Cups is pouring out his cup. Okay, so oftentimes that's pouring out the opportunity to connect with somebody, the desire to connect with somebody or further anything on with somebody. Marcel, chill it out. The King of Cups is somebody who is in their emotions. Sometimes they have a difficult time sharing their emotions, facing their emotions. Sometimes they drink, they have difficulties connecting with themselves. You know, they're often good people in regard to others, but sometimes with themselves, they have a hard time. It could be a Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, primarily Scorpio, that card denotes. But it's somebody who is sad. It's somebody who is frustrated. And this may also be your energy, Aquarius. You may be having a difficult time here in regard to this phase of healing, the process of healing here. But, you know, it's behind you. This is behind you now. It's like there has to be a time of mourning. We have to recognize that. You know, we can't just go from thing to thing without being affected. There's a time of mourning. There's a time of recognizing where we're at in ourselves in regard to how we move forward next. But, you know, I would say be careful that doesn't completely like stop you from being open to the potential for other people. Don't let it blind you. Don't let it say that, oh, everybody's toxic. Everybody's an asshole. I can't trust anybody, you know, so I won't date at all. You know, I just can't trust anybody. Well, go through your pain, go through your heartache, but recognize that not everybody's the same, you know, and I know most of you know that, but a lot of people create blockages in their heart because they've been, you know, wronged, or they've experienced a considerable amount of pain. You know, don't shut everybody out just because a situation was painful. Okay. Show me the 9 of Wands for Aquarius. So this is interesting. It fell on the floor. And on the floor, it came out in reverse. I'm going to leave it that way. It's interesting because what I'm feeling here, the Tower in reverse is essentially coming back to situations that we know need to go, we know need to break down, yet we still return to them. It's like running into a burning building. When there's no cat there, when there's no dog there, when the baby's already out of the building, it's like you just run into the burning building. Like, what's the point of that? You're returning back to a situation that brings you dissatisfaction. It brings you unease, frustration. It talks about going back to situations, or at least mentally stagnating in situations that have had us pretty much up in our head and our hearts. And it's like cycling through that energy. And I feel that energy is now time to close that energy, Aquarius. And sometimes that can be difficult because we can become very accustomed to that energy. And so it's like pulling the rug from out under us. And we are the ones that have to pull that rug. And so it's like, pull the rug, pull the plug. It's important to do that just because, you know, we need to shift it. Sorry, I'm just writing something down. You know, a lot of the time too, like the Tower can talk about, I know oftentimes it's massive energy change and shifts, but in reverse, it literally is talking about going back to things that just are not for you anymore. And even if it's not a person that's physically in your life, sometimes it's that memory, sometimes it's engaging in that painful cycle that we need to let go of. Good. So with this 8 of Swords here, for the 8 of Swords, what's popping out? You had 2 cards pop out. And you have the 8 of Cups, and you've got this Ace of Wands with the 7 of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. So I want to talk about the 7 of Pentacles first, okay? In regard to this, we're coming back and back and back and revisiting something. Even if it isn't like an actual person in your life, it's rehashing energy. It's time to release that. It's time to let it go. The 7 of Pentacles talks about releasing things. Well, it talks about evaluating, okay? Evaluation to a degree where we make a decision. The next card would be the 8 of Pentacles. So deciding to put your energy and effort towards something, to create something, to really harness your focus on an outcome and achieve it. The Seven of Pentacles is the decisionary point. Like, do I put my energy into something? Why don't I look at everything that I've experienced in this situation thus far, and what is it telling me? Okay, what am I being shown? What am I allowing myself to look at? Sometimes we can romanticize situations where people may have treated us poorly, and we can get stagnant in there. Sometimes we are so used to dealing with energy like this toxicity between people and in ourselves, it becomes codependent. And so when we live in codependence, that could be to a vice that you experience, like drinking, drugging, eating. That could be to a literal person, or it could be codependence to a toxic way of thinking, a toxic way of experiencing your life and how you go about things. So just kind of be careful about that, be conscious of it, and recognize that it may be time to let things go. This Eight of Swords talks about being in our head. It talks about not being able to let go of things, being afraid. It talks about creating stories where maybe, coulda, woulda, shoulda, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that, and it would have been different had I done that. Or, they're not so bad, even though everything in front of you is providing you enough information to say, hey, this may not be healthy for me to be involved in any longer. It's getting real with your thoughts. It's getting real with your thinking in regard to where you want to be, in regard to what you need to walk away from, in regard to the energy that you still mourn and put over, and in regard to that missing love. It's sad having to deal with situations that break down, Aquarius. It's sad to have to deal with things that we thought maybe were going to go a specific way and didn't, or we got to see somebody for who they are, but holy fuck, like it totally blew us out of the water. Like, I never expected you to be like that. Like, what a piece of shit. Like, what a literal piece of shit. Or like, it may have shined things on you, like where you got to see certain parts of yourself where, you neglect yourself, or like you give too much power over to other people, and that's a blessing, because it teaches you to return to yourself and to reclaim your power. But what a way to go about it. What a way to experience that, right? But regardless, you have the Ace of Wands. So this is talking about forward movement. It's talking about ambition. It talks about getting out of stagnancy. It talks about moving, but it has to happen when we evaluate. It has to happen when we look at things for what they truly are and say, hey, this doesn't really work for me. Maybe I should go in a different direction. Maybe I should really strive to achieve balance. Is this juggling two things, two people, a job? Is it juggling your emotions? What are we juggling here? Are we juggling, stepping away from codependent behavior towards something healthier? That can be very difficult for people, especially when they've lived so long experiencing that type of cycle. We're not taught to step away from things like that. We're not taught to take care of ourselves. We're taught to please people. We're taught to give and give and give and engage in situations that essentially put us at secondary. We hold ourselves at arm's length. Sometimes it shows us to revere and uphold people that are incredibly toxic in our lives, because we're supposed to be polite, and because, well, that's just my role. I'm just supposed to do that, right? No, if it feels like it goes against you, it's not for you. Okay? Show me the Two of Pentacles for Aquarius, please. It came out 50-50. It actually, what it did was it fell out upright, then it spun, and then it spun in reverse. So I'm going to read it in all directions. All directions. In reverse, we have a card of imbalance. We have a card of not recognizing what makes sense for us. It's perpetuating situations that are essentially keeping us out of balance. It's mental, emotional frustration, disease, being distraught, not having our equilibrium about us, not being in connection to our feelings, and not being able to really see the forest from the trees. upright. This is talking about bringing balance. It talks about still, it talks about recognizing what you incorporate into a situation, what you remove from a situation to have a better outcome. Sometimes removing yourself from a situation is the only way to have a better outcome. Okay, especially if you're dealing in a situation where there may have been a fair amount of, I will say, attraction to somebody. This could be sexual attraction, incredible sexual attraction, finding them lip smackingly amazing, like you would drink their bathwater type stuff, or they you, like it's obsessive type of behavior. Sometimes when we get connected in that type of energy with people, it creates a complete, like, totally warped vision and picture of what actually is, because we get passion involved, we get attraction involved, we get like sexuality and combustible situations happening where it overthrows you and you become almost like entrenched in that energy. You become a slave to that energy in certain ways, and it feels good. It feels good because it's supposed to feel good. Sex is supposed to feel good. Adoration is supposed to feel good. Sometimes obsession feels good. Like, let's get real, but the reality of it is, how much do you want to experience there? Because this is talking about being out of balance. Here, we need to balance energy out. Is it you or them, or is it, I don't mean like, is it you or is it them? Like, is it you or them? Like, which do you choose, because it feels like the person that you're experiencing here is somebody that does what they want, is somebody that is there for them on their terms, and it feels like there's a fair amount of conflict with this, whether this be internal conflict of a situation in regard to somebody who you already had in your past who you emotionally continue to return to, or it could literally be a person in your experience. Scorpio is very heavily prominent here. Capricorn, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Scorpio very heavily. So, the Seven of Wands, thank you. So the Seven of Wands, which is this card of conflict, it's a card of anxiety. What clarifies this card is the Fool in reverse. So engaging in this situation with this person is essentially foolish. It's a situation where it causes you to be out of your element. It causes you to do stupid things. It causes you to engage in situations that may not be the smartest. Sometimes that's unprotected sex with people who carouse and do what they want with multitudes of people. Sometimes it is just being unwilling to look at the truth and essentially perpetuating toxic cycles with people that you damn well know that aren't good for you, Aquarius. But, the reality is it's somebody who is, they don't pay attention to how this affects them. They're reckless. That's the word, reckless in their behavior. They go after what feels good for the moment. They jump in really quick and they don't really see what the hell's going on around them, It's also somebody who does things where it's kind of like Five of Swords energy, like, I don't really give a damn, like, whatever. That's difficult energy to experience, especially when you have somebody who operates like that and you're supposed to do what with that? Like, that goes against you. It brings conflict. This is about fighting, frustration. Sometimes it's about fighting ourselves and our urges in regard to this person or how you operate, who you have in your home, like who you bed. Show me the Four of Wands for Aquarius. Why is the Four of Wands here as the final card? So you have the Six of Swords coming out in reverse. So you guys, this is... this does not go... It doesn't bode well for your stability. It doesn't bode well for your connected energy with this person. It literally feels like going back into situations that are perpetuating frustration. They perpetuate mental confusion. Not healthy. And it can get in the way of your home life. It can get in the way of the family that you have, the friends that you keep. Sometimes people don't want to, when we have a lot of pain, we can wallow in it for a point, and then there's the time where we have to release it and move on. Sometimes when we wallow in it and wallow and wallow and wallow, it becomes like people are like, really? You're still on that? Like, really? You're still pining over this? Really? It wasn't that great to begin with, but you're still at it. Really? And it's like that can cause people to want to move away from you. That can cause people, and I don't want to say like you're going to lose friends about it, but like it grates on people because it essentially shows them that you may not be considering yourself at the optimal. You may not be considering yourself enough. Let's just put it like that. I want to see the devil. Show me the devil. So you have the Four of Swords here for the devil, Aquarius. The Four of Swords talks about taking time for yourself, evaluating your emotions and your mind, mainly the mind. It's talking about taking a break. It talks about healing. It talks about opening up yourself to yourself, being very, very genuine with what you feel and what you think. It talks about taking time away from people and situations. It can talk about blocking somebody who is toxic in your life, blocking communication, blocking direction, blocking the desire to continue with somebody, Either way, it's a break, so that's interesting. I feel like I want to ask more. Show me the King of Cups with the Tower. This came out on its side, okay? This is the Hermit, okay? The Hermit talks about deep contemplation. It talks about introspection. It talks about spiritual awakening. The Hermit, in this case, with the Tower in reverse and the King of Cups pouring his cup out, I feel that this is an energy where we are vacillating on releasing this type of connection, okay? Whether that be with an actual person or just the ties that bind, those etheric cording energies that are, when they say cut the cord, well, this is the cord that needs to be cut. It's an energy here where we're holding on to a snake. You're holding on to a snake. The snake is the scepter here. It's like you're holding on to the enemy, yet you're looking at the situation. I know snakes also can talk about wisdom, but the way that I'm feeling this energy, it's like you're holding on to a snake. Like, what is that? A snake in the grass. Like, what is a snake? A reptile. A snake is beneath you. A snake will tempt you. All of those wonderful biblical things. On its side, this is being uncertain about what we want to do. It's vacillating. It's going back and forth in our mind. Now, when that popped out, what's at the bottom of the deck? You have the Judgment card, okay? So the Judgment card talks about using your judgment wisely. It talks about really deciding what's going to make you happy, what works in your life, what no longer works in your life. It's talking about resurrecting situations. It can talk about reconciliation. And should you do that? I don't believe you should. Here at the bottom of the deck, you have underneath the Judgment card, you have the King of Swords. So the King of Swords, Aquarius, Gemini, Libra, it doesn't have to be. The King of Swords is somebody who deals with situations head on. He uses his mind, he uses his intellect. He's less emotionally involved with the situation, even though it may tug at his heartstrings. He's going to use his logical mind in regard to fixing a situation or removing himself from a situation, cutting an energy out. He can be cold, he can be calculating, and sometimes that energy is necessary, especially if your heart is being most affected. These two kings, and it's your energy too, Aquarius, but these two kings, being used right now, what I'm feeling is being of the same energy. It's like I feel somebody is in their mind too much in their heart and in their emotions, but they're having to realize that pouring out those emotions, pouring out the desire to engage in the situation, it's not healthy. Here with this King of Swords, this is cutting it out. It's recognizing things. It's being honest with ourselves, even when that's been the most difficult thing to do. Looking at ourselves and our behaviors and how we experience things and why we can't let something go or somebody go, or how can we keep perpetuating a situation that's dead. It's important to recognize that, Aquarius. So pay attention to that. Recognize what works, what doesn't work. See the toxicity. See your connection to that. If you have, codependent energy on an idea of a person or romanticizing a person, be careful about that, okay? Act accordingly to what has been presented to you. That's what I want to say, okay? So let's pull an oracle card for you, and we will call it good. Okay. Shuffle. Oh my God. Show me for Aquarius. All right, Aquarius. So you have Manta Ray. I don't believe I've ever read this card. Manta Ray. I love this deck. It's so pretty. It's been hand painted. Manta Ray. Let's figure it out together. Okay, Manta Ray. Grace, calmness. Despite being the world's largest ray with a wingspan of up to 9 meters, it's 29 feet, the manta ray glides effortlessly through the water with grace and confidence. While manta rays will stay in the shallow waters for feeding and mating, they can dive as deep as 450 meters. That's 1,476 feet. As with the depths of the ocean, the manta ray reminds us to explore the depths of our emotions with calmness and composure. So yes, with calmness and composure, most definitely, but also with logic. Like literally look at a situation. Is this something that I've just examined and just been over and over and over again in my mind and my heart, and I can't release it? Be in your mind about it. I would say yes. Explore the depths of your emotions with calmness and composure. More so composure, more so rational behavior, okay? You also have Bat coming out here, and I've never read Bat, I don't think. So let's read Bat as well. All right, Aquarius, Bat. Bat. Senses, clairvoyance, nurturing, fear. Many people fear bats due to their nocturnal tendencies in association with vampire lore. However, the reality is they're fairly harmless and fascinating creatures. Sometimes your biggest fears are not as bad as they actually are. Despite their negative reputation, bats are nurturing creatures, living in large colonies and bonding close to their young and family members. They'll even go as far as caring for the sick or orphaned. They see in the night using echolocation. And drawing this card is a sign to keep your senses open and be aware of your surroundings. Be receptive to the messages that the universe is sending you. Okay, so yeah, be aware of the message the universe is sending you, but also be aware of what you're feeling inside. If you're feeling like this is an exhausting experience that you've had with somebody over and over and over again. Be conscious of that. Be willing to admit that. I'm going to pull one more card. I was like, yeah, I'm going to pull one more card. I hope this one makes sense, but we shall see. It makes sense too, and gives some insight. This is the Demon Tarot. It's something that I haven't really used for readings, because I always worry that people get weirded out by stuff like that, like the occult and demons and this and that, and it's just information. So let's figure it out. You have Nikar. Nikar. Focus on taking necessary precautions and respecting powerful outside influences. You know what? Powerful outside influences. This type of energy. Take extra precaution in dealing with that type of stuff. Not even just take a break. Remove yourself from a situation. You know, it's interesting that this demon cards comes up for the devil. You know, be conscious of what you're giving your energy and effort to. I want to also say too, for some reason, like I'm getting this wave of feeling where whomever this is representing, it almost feels like they hold a very, very big, powerful spot in your life. And it may be time to disengage from that. It may be time to disarm that energy and free yourself. Okay. So, all right, Aquarius, I hope that this reading was helpful for you. My voice is going. My name is Isel. I'm on YouTube as the Altruistic Mystic, and I will be here for your June reading. If this was helpful, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And if you choose to donate, the link is in the description box below. And I'll be back in a few weeks for your June reading. All right, take care, Aquarius. I hope everything's well. Let this go. It's okay. You know, heal yourself. It's time. All right, bye.